So what's up people, and welcome to another Battle Angel Alita Mars Chronicle video. Now this is going to be a relatively quick one, I hope. And this is part 2 to the subject of the MBV. Now if you recall, a few weeks ago I made the part 1 video, and typically I only make a part 2 video if there are interesting comments that I receive from many of you viewers. And of course I did, and so I wanted to make part 2 for this subject. And for this, I want to thank Norton and Fabrizio Pedani for both really interesting input with regards to my last discussion. And so, just like with the other video, I do want to give a very quick spoiler warning. Since we are going into a very specific topic in Battle Angel Alita Mars Chronicle, if you haven't read up to the most recent chapters of Battle Angel Alita Mars Chronicle, there is a chance you may get spoiled. So if you don't want to get spoiled with regards to that particular comic, then yes, please turn off this video. We will be delving a little bit into Last Order as well. So if you haven't read that comic series as well, then, well, once again, you may want to turn off this video. So with that, that is my spoiler alert, and as always, please watch at your discretion. So, to revisit this topic, just to go over some quick background, the MBV is a caretaker of the Himmelsal, which is that giant canopy that covers the entire planet of Mars. And because of that, they seem to have a very strong political presence in the planet, and yet they seem to be a very mysterious entity. They don't seem to be associated with any government, and they seem to predate a lot of the kingdoms and empires and governments that currently exist in the planet. Now, we talked about in the last video how the MBV's desire was to see a unification of Mars and peace come to the planet. And separately, they also seem to view Alita as a chosen entity that will possibly do that. I'm not sure what it is that they expect her to do as the chosen one. They never said in the comic yet. But there is a good possibility that that is their desire, that Alita will help bring unification to the planet. And from the discussions that I had with many of you viewers, it seems that you feel the same way with regards to that. Now, the other discussion we had was, of course, the Oracle and the possibility that she might be the planet's AI. And, of course, the Himmelsal, which seems to be a network of possibly living entities that will create a possible communication network throughout the entire planet for the MBV and the Oracle. Okay, so the last video closed with the possibility of what the MBV wanted Alita to do, which was to unify Mars. And during that time, I mentioned that one possibility was that Alita may end up sacrificing herself to the Himmelsal, and by doing so take over that network. But with regards to this, I do want to thank Fabrizio Pedani and Norton, because there was some very interesting discussions that they provided. And both, I think, of you thought that it was probably for the better that Alita did not sacrifice herself into the Mars network, because although there may have been a unification of Mars from the result of that, that isn't the only expectation for Alita. Because although that might eventually resolve the objective of what the Oracle wanted the Chosen One to do, it's not the overall objective of the Last Order, what both Zeus and Merlin wanted Alita to do. And this gets into a much bigger picture, which I, after hearing from you two the comments, I do agree with this, is that Merlin's desire goes well beyond Mars, because of course he doesn't have to deal with Mars except as a third-party entity. And so as much as the unification of Mars is nice, that isn't the final picture. I think now that I hear from both of you, I think you are both right in that Merlin's desire and objective for the Last Order is the unification of all 4 planets. And that may have been why Merlin and Zeus asked Alita to go to Venus first, which was so that there can be some sort of agreement between the 3 entities, and by doing so bring some sort of harmony between the 3 planets. But the 4th planet also required that, and before the 4th planet can get to a point where it can be unified with the other 3 planets, it will need to undergo the objective that the 4th planet wanted, which was to unify the governments within the 4th planet. And so there may be a desire for the Oracle, before it listens to Alita's negotiations with regards to the unification of all 4 planets, by having Alita unify the governments. And so the desire for Alita to unify the governments may still be there, but it's probably not appropriate for Alita to sacrifice herself and turn herself into one of the AIs, because she still needs to be the mediator for the 4 planets. And I think that that's a very astute idea, and it does fit well into the entire story. Now here's this part, and maybe Yukito Kishiro wants to turn Mars Chronicle into a really long series. However, considering the fact that he only writes like a chapter every 6 months, 3 months, something like that, I can't imagine him to turn Mars Chronicle into a really long series. The reason why I say this is, if Alita's goal is to first unify Mars, which is a feat in itself, and then to go out and unify all 4 planets, then that will require a tremendous number of volumes of comics. And maybe that was Yukito Kishiro's desire in the beginning when he started Mars Chronicle, but now it seems like he's settled down. He wants to have a little bit of a slower life, and so focusing and trying to kill himself over developing the chapters may not be his highest priority. So the question is, I still think that Kishiro will be able to finish the story with regards to the unification of Mars, but I'm not sure if he will be able to take on the story of the unification of all 4 planets. Now, to be clear, when I say the unification of all 4 planets, there are 2 levels to that. The first level is the obvious one, the unification of all 4 AIs to come to some sort of agreement and harmony within each other. And I think that can be done. The more difficult one is the unification of the civilizations that each one of these AIs is influencing. And I think for that, each one of the AIs will help out in making sure that Alita can negotiate with each one of these governments, but that's where the entire challenge will come in. And it probably will be a non-peaceful negotiation, and for that, Alita will require not only her Panzerkunst, but possibly the help of a lot of other entities, including people like Kyrula Sanguis and the Stellar Nursery Society, possibly her old comrades from the Panzerkunst Academy, and maybe other friends that she has made, such as the ones from the Mars Kingdom Parliament, and even people like Ping Wu, right? So it would have been an interesting story in that if it keeps on going in that direction, she could bring in a lot of the past characters to help complete that final objective, the Last Order. However, I am not holding my breath to that because of the fact that I don't think Yukito Kishiro just physically has it in him anymore to complete this level of a story. So my hope, at least, is that he will get to whatever objective the Mars AI wants Alita to do. And he will also get to the point where Alita will somehow defeat the Sane, and she will get to the point where she will have peace within herself with Yoko, and between all of her other Panzerkunst comrades, especially Erica. Those are the 3 objectives that I would like to see Yukito Kishiro get to. And for me, and this is just me, other people may feel different, I would be happy to see the 3 manga series, the trilogy, close where Alita's continuing to go off into space to do the final challenge, which is the unification of the 4 planets, but she will have the camaraderie of whoever she saves from this particular series, which I'm hoping at least will be Erica, and they go off into space that way. In that way, you get closure of 2 characters, right? You get closure of the original Alita because she is in Earth and with Figure 4, hopefully living happily ever after. But the difficulty was you see one Alita achieving her satisfaction, which is to live with Figure 4, and you see the other Alita who had to sacrifice that particular relationship with Figure 4 to go off to hopefully save Mars. So what does she get in return for all of this effort that she has done in Last Order and in Mars Chronicle? Sure, the original Alita is the one on Earth, and that's the one that we grew up with in the beginning. But if you think about it, if you look over the 3 major mangas, the other Alita, the Brain Chip Alita, actually spans the majority of the story, right? She is the one that basically went through Last Order. She is the one that's basically going through Mars Chronicle. So she actually takes a larger amount of the story than the original Alita, although we started out with the original Alita, and the original Alita is the original, right? The Brain Alita. But you would like to see some sort of satisfaction that will come to the other Alita. And if she can't be with Figure 4, the one thing I could see is now that she had her memory back, one thing she would desire is to somehow be with her family again. And if you remember in Last Order, there was that scene of her saying, I would like to somehow come back to the people I love. Now some of them may be unattainable anymore, like Figure 4, and possibly even Daisuke Ito. But there were the others, such as Erica. And I'm not sure if she's alive, but even Gelda, right? And so if she can somehow save Erica and then go off and take on the challenge of the Last Order and have Erica by her side, then for me, I would feel that that is a very satisfying closure to the entire trilogy, because both of these characters have somehow brought about their own inner peace and their own satisfaction. And since Battle Angel Alita was never really about the stories and the plots of these planets and these governments and whatever, but actually a single person journey or a 2-person journey, now that there are 2 Alitas, you would like to see closure come to the lives of both Alitas. And I can't imagine a better way to close the series than for Alita to save Mars, to save Erica, to somehow bring peace to her past and present, and by doing so, be able to challenge the Last Order and to go off into space that way. So, that is my part 2 video for Battle Angel Alita Mars Chronicle MBV. Yeah, thank you very much for listening. I'm sorry I keep on dwelling upon this. And I appreciate all of your comments in my previous video. And I look forward to more very interesting comments in this one. And in any case, I'll continue on with more Battle Angel Alita videos in the future. I hope you join me at that time. And until then, happy manga reading, happy movie watching, and as always, Jaya, nice day everyone.